tagline. Little girl, big psycho. Welcome to I Be Suffer.
Okay, I love that.
Many moons ago, a nameless evil was imprisoned in a place far beyond reach.
Hurry up!
If he were ever to be released, it would spell certain doom for all existence.
Is that fear I smell? Your planet will be torn to pieces, and I will treat your angry screams as I rip.
Is this yours? Speak?
Oh my god.
The gem of Paraxidike. Whoever wields it is able to command me.
Go over there and wait for us to come back in the morning.
You will suffer an eternity for this.
Mom, Dad, I want you to meet Psycho Goreman, or PG for short.
I will bathe in your blood.
Don't worry.
Be worried. Slow down!
He's gonna kill everybody. Not unless I tell him to.
What did you three maniacs get up to?
This is getting a little weird.
This sick game must come to an end. She will enslave the galaxy into endless servitude. Kill him!
Cool.
The ultimate evil has awoken.
There's a new god in town, and his name? Psycho Goreman. It was nice meeting you.
It would be nicer if you were dead.
Alright, bye.
This is the new episode 126 of I Be Suffer. My name is Cassius 3000.
No.
I forgot the dude's name. I'm the guy with his head in a jar.
Tube Man.
Tube Man. Yeah,
Man.
Tube Man.
I'm gonna be Witchmaster.
And this week, we are talking about 2021's Psycho Goreman.
The newest movie we've ever covered.
Yeah,
Like, literally. It's technically not out yet.
big spoilers going forward. We're going to try and do sort of as spoiler-free as we possibly can, but just...
I can't promise that.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about, like, jokes and stuff in the movie, but I'm just, just a spoiler warning going forward. This movie comes out Friday.
Yeah. Before we dive into that, let's just go ahead and tell everyone it's extremely worth their time.
Oh, yes.
If they don't want to stick around for spoilers.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, there's, there will be spoilers. This movie comes out. You can rent it Friday on,
22nd.
Vudu, Amazon. Yeah, on January 22nd. Like, all those places have it up to, you can pre-order a rental right now. I think you can pre-order Blu-ray on Prime, but I don't think that comes out till like the end of February. Highly recommend this movie to everybody on Earth.
It fucking rules.
If you go to it's like at Psycho Goreman, I think, on Twitter and Instagram, there's links in their bios that takes you to like a page that has just kind of all the places you can watch
Get
it
your
from
hands on it.
On January 22nd when it comes out. So you should definitely do that. If you want to wait, let's stop this, listen to it after it comes out. But this this coming out on the 18th, and then the movie comes out the 22nd. But
yeah, so we're not doing like take by take like we normally do, but there are going to be some things that are definitely spoiler-y.
Yeah. I guess just before, like, I'll try to say spoiler again before we actually dive into that stuff after, like, general thoughts, but, yeah, I just definitely wanted to get, a spoiler warning out there first. Yeah, I know.
That's Katie's spoiler sound. She does it for every spoiler.
Or every time someone says spoiler, I have to do it.
Brr, brr, brr.
Thanks.
Kit and I texted a little bit while he was watching it because we had email issues. So we were just kind of texting a little bit as he was watching it. And I know it's pretty much all of the same stuff he fucking loved. I was like way into. But I haven't talked to Katie at all really about it. So Katie, what were your thoughts?
I tried so hard not, like, you and I did text a little bit and I Snapchatted a little bit, but I tried so hard to just like not say anything so that it would be, I don't think it's a surprise at all that everybody probably loved it. Like, there's just no way you couldn't, right? I guess, I guess if you guys don't know what Psycho Goreman is somehow, even though we constantly talk about it, it was written and directed by Steven Kostanski, who is one of our favorites, and Nathan has been, I guess, just watching all kinds of his movies, but we've covered Manborg.
Well, we also did Leprechaun Returns. Yes,
my bad. We sure did. That just feels like such a different movie than this does. So I know that they had put out there's been promos about it, and I watched a trailer, but I actually didn't really remember like what this movie was supposed to be about. So I was like, aside from Psycho Goreman himself and then like the children, I was going in like pretty blind. Like I hadn't really seen any of the other like effects to this movie or anything. And so like I knew I was going to like it, but I liked it like way more than I thought. I was like, there's no way that this is going to be as good as Manborg for me. And it's a completely different movie, to be fair, but like I laughed out loud so many times, which is like not usually something that I do. Like if I'm watching something by myself, I don't normally laugh out loud, right? And I was like laughing the whole time. So like I'm just so impressed with like you see Psycho Goreman and himself, like that's literally his name now. I don't even remember what it was before.
The Archduke of
Nightmares or something, which was hilarious. And so you like have him and you can see, and like if you know anything about Costanti's work, like you're gonna know that this is gonna look amazing. But all the other, like we'll get into it a little bit later, but all of the other like any creature in this movie just was like amazing, and they were all super different, and the gore was like insane. Like, I mean, it's called Psycho Goreman, but the very first time that something happens, I literally like gasped because I just wasn't sure what to expect, because Manborg doesn't really have that kind of thing in it. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I mean, Manborg, I think, was the first full-length movie they made. Because I started today, like, so after we did Manborg, like, literally that night, I bought all of their releases, except for Father's Day, because I want the, like, 3 or 4 disc version of it, and it's, like, way out of print, and, like, I'm not spending $80 on it. But I've been, like, kind of slowly going through, like, all their stuff, and like today I finally put in like their DVD of like the Astron 6 shorts that Troma put out. Mm-hmm. And like you could kind of see pretty early on where they specifically Kostanski was kind of going, because even early on, like their humor is pretty on point with where they would go to Manborg. And then like gore wise, like there's one specifically that's like it's called like Erection of the Dead or something like that.
Oh.
And it's it's pretty fucking funny, but it's like this weird zombie Friday the 13th spoof, but like also a sort of early idea of what they would do with the editor, where it's like fake Italian, so like all of the dialogue in it is overdubbed. Mm-hmm. And like barely matches any of the mouths, but is pretty fucking funny. But yeah, I've been kind of slowly working through the Astron 6 like catalog and kind of just like other stuff like Kostansky has done, and like this is up there with like this might be my favorite thing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, as from what you've watched, how this ranked.
I don't like the Void. I think the Void and the Editor right now are kind of duking it out a little bit as my favorite. This is kind of up there in that fight now. This movie, like you said, made me fucking like, at one point, like I was watching it while Caitlin was sleeping, and I was just like the first, because I watched it twice, and I was like laying there in bed watching it on my phone, and I had to get up at a certain point and like come downstairs to like start laughing because I was like having to hold it. Like I'm somebody that usually, if I'm watching something by myself, I like even stuff that I like Hot Rod, that like always makes me laugh. Like it's usually if I'm by myself, it's like that kind of like inner laugh, not like out loud. Yeah. And like I was like at one point I was like crying laughing at something in this. What about you, Kit? Like initial thoughts?
So I was expecting to like it pretty well, not love it, but it was so much better than that. I adored it. I was cackling throughout the film. All of the gore effects are incredible, especially for something that's on the lower end of the budget spectrum.
Does anyone know what the budget was? Because it's not on IMDb. It only says that the movie's made $200, and I was like, well, it's not out yet, so.
That's pretty good. You make $200 and you're not out yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Matthew, I'm gonna butcher his last name. Matthew Nienaber.
Yeah.
As Psycho Goreman was perfect. His deadpan for everything killed me every time. So did Adam Brooks as the father, Greg.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so yes. Hold on. Going forward, spoilers again. Just spoilers. Don't listen if you're concerned about that. Like, come back after you've watched it, whatever. But just going forward, we're gonna get into spoilers. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Adam Brooks.
Everyone dies.
Is the fucking the king of this movie.
He really is.
He was just fucking killing it with just the just beaten down like dad, but also like just the fucking you're welcome. Like
sitting on the toilet, like practicing his speech or whatever.
You're nobody.
That was the point I had to get up and like come downstairs. But it's just like Psycho Goreman projecting his face to scream directions at it.
And then he'd be like, "Find us here," and disappear, and he'd be like, "I don't know where that is," and then his head showed back up and was like, "Oh,
you take the parkway out of this."
I still don't know how to get there.
I literally have 3 different times in my notes Adam Brooks fucking rules in this.
Yeah, he by far, well, in the very early stages of the movie, I wrote Dad is hilarious, but as the movie went on, he is really it's not only, okay, first of all, I think without saying, the script is just hilarious. Everybody, even if everybody wasn't perfect at delivering their lines, the script itself is so funny. And there's this part later where Psycho Goreman has used a TV set to call his followers or whatever, and there's this really cool effect where the TV starts bleeding or whatever, and then later when all of the main characters are kind of together, it's kind of like an aside, but the dad picks up the TV and says, "Well, this TV won't stop bleeding," and he's not even the focus of the shot, but I laughed so hard. It just was little moments like that.
Whenever his wife gets turned into an evil robot,
Templar robot thing.
Yeah, and she's walking towards him, like, just going to murder him, and he's backing away, and he says, I can go to therapy if that is something that you would like for me to do.
I think
Do you still want to do that?
my favorite thing he does in the entire movie is when he breaks his wrist and like
Oh my god.
she like falls in his arms and she's like all like goopy and shit or whatever, and he's just like, Susan, I think I need to go to the hospital. I can't feel my hand.
He's
like,
great.
I've been going through like a bunch of their stuff, like him and like Connor Sweeney and all of the Astron 6 stuff specifically are just like another level. Like I don't think I know, because I can't remember if I'm sure he is. He's got to be in Manborg somewhere, but he's probably in like a costume.
He is Draculon.
Okay.
And Dr. Scorpius.
But specifically, like, him and the editor is like, he's so good in it, as like he plays like, you know, this editor for this, you know, Italian director that is just kind of like beaten down by his life, and it's kind of like he's not funny in it, but he just kind of, the things he does is funny. I'm not really sure how to like explain it, but
right.
like he's so good in that. And then like Connor Sweeney, like we talked about in Manborg, is just like on another level as Justice. But then he's in the editor, he plays this actor in it that's like terrible at acting, because every time he's on camera at acting, he just blinks too much. And like he's just really good in that, and he like interacts with Adam Brooks a lot, and they're both just like obviously play off really well together.
I mean, if I was gonna say, I have one complaint about this movie, and it is not enough Connor Sweeney.
Yeah, he plays two characters in it.
He plays two characters, but he's only on screen. One of them, you don't even know. I mean, like, I like specifically looked up who he was, so like I knew, but it's not actually him. So that's my one complaint.
I do. I don't know. I like the idea of who he plays, and then his death in it rules. Like, one of the things in this movie that I really like is, I kind of saw some reviews early on that were just kind of like, oh, this is like, you know, a kids movie but not for kids.
Right.
Which I completely agree with. And like, I can't even like imagine if I'd watched this as like an 11-year-old. And just like the first time like anything gore wise happens, I would be like, oh shit, because it happens just like abruptly and is extremely like very much gory in the like how the gore is in The Void, or everything's just kind of like wet and goopy and gross.
Yeah, Psycho Goreman is like glistening the entire time. I do want to talk about the very first kill. Like, again, we're past the spoiler point, but I like I said, I had no idea like what to expect as far as that went, because I hadn't really seen anything. But so basically the kids, my favorite thing about the plot is that they're so I guess we didn't even say what the movie was about. So there's two siblings, Mimi and Luke. And I assume that Mimi is the younger sibling, but she is like fierce. She is rude, and she's like, you can't tell me what to do. When she was like praying, she was like, please God help me, but nobody tells me what to do. And then she like breaks across. It was really funny. But so she kind of like is like the boss of the family essentially. So like her and her brother Luke are playing this game that they invented called Crazy Ball that is actually crazy. I don't understand any of the rules, even though there's like multiple times when we see them play. And so she wins, and so she makes him dig his own grave, and that's how they find like, yeah, you know, that's how they find Psycho Goreman, who has been like banished to Earth and has been living underground for like however long or whatever, right? And that's the plot.
Yeah, so then it's just basically Psycho Goreman is out, and Mimi has like a thing that, you know,
the gem,
like a gem that the gem of Paraxis or some shit like that, that like, you know, can control him. Like whoever has it can control him. So that's just how she's not immediately murdered. But you
Right,
were
so
saying about the first.
yeah, so while they're sleeping, like they still don't really understand, like they don't know what's happening yet. They're just like, okay, this was weird, and they like immediately dig the hole back in because like as a kid, if you're just like, oh, we'll just pretend like it didn't happen, then it goes away, you know. So they go to sleep, and that night, Psycho Gorman like breaks out, and he's just like walking around, and he comes up to this like warehouse where there's a bunch of robbers, and they're just like chalking back and forth or whatever, and he comes in and just like one of the robbers is just like, you know, hey, let's get this guy, even though he's terrifying looking. And Psycho Gorman just like rips his head off. And I like literally was like, because it's like there's like so much blood. It was crazy. And so then he does this thing where he's like, he basically makes his victims like have eternal pain or whatever. So the guy's like standing there and his eyeballs are just like rolling completely around in their sockets, and I was just like, oh my god, it just was insane.
Luke knocking that guy over is fucking
Psycho
incredible.
Gorman,
His head exploding.
Just the like him saying thank you as he's just like in pieces.
Yeah.
My masterpiece.
He was like, oh, sorry. So then the whole movie is kind of like a buddy situation where sort of, because like he's, you know, has to listen to anything that they say, and she's a child, so there's like clothing montages. There's like a large portion of the movie where he's dressed up as Alan Grant from Jurassic Park for some reason. And it's just like so funny because he's like so brutal and like he's like a world destroyer or something, but he's just like sipping soda in the diner and whatnot. It's just like
just smashes the whole plate into his mouth.
Oh my god.
I think
Go ahead.
one of the funniest things is when they're trying to come up with a name, and he's just like he's like just sitting there kind of like running in place and having to like clap and shit, and she's just like, Dark Lord of Wonderful Smooches, and he's like, excuse me? Like, I don't see how any of this is better than Archduke of Nightmares. And then when she like makes him go sit down before they leave, and he just groans the whole way over.
One of them, the only one I remember, only other nickname was Murder Man. The one thing that I really like about this movie is that so there's not very many people technically. It's Mimi, Luke, the dad, and then the mom Susan, and very briefly some cops. But then
And
everybody
Alistair.
else oh my I forgot about Alistair. Oh my god.
I don't know how you forgot about Alistair.
I don't know.
I won't never forget Alistair.
But so, and then there's also the Council of Gygax, which is either the planet or the soul, whatever that he's from. And so the entire council is like, I don't know how many people, 5 or 6.
Yeah, probably like 6 to 8, give or take.
And they are all super cool looking like monsters. It's like practical effects monsters and all of them. My favorite for sure is Tube Man. Who is just
best.
like, how do you describe him? He's not even just like a
He's a man, but if you put him in a tube.
but he doesn't have skin, so he's like a flesh bee or whatever.
When he does that like sort of like cowering back thing when Templars like doing shit, it looks so ridiculous, and I love it
It
so
reminds
much.
me of what was that Muppet, that Beaker or Bleaker, where he was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he kind of looks like that, but no skin.
When one of the other Templars like puts his hand over his eyes
Yes.
to cover it from.
When Pandora, I really liked Pandora's like design too, when she like turned this girl into a flesh cube so that she could like turn into human. I was like, this is so, and that's like one of the things that I thought was so cool about this movie, is that they just like did stuff that were so small to the plot but just were like so cool, like things that I just had never seen anyone do. And so they have like, and like for the most part, like Pandora, the head Templar person, is mostly the only other person that you see for a long period of time. Like it like flashes back to the council kind of, but not a lot. And then also you have this group that are even cooler, that are like Psycho Goreman's like old henchmen or whatever, and they show up literally just to be killed. Their scene is like what, 10 or 10 minutes maybe, but the detail in them is just like, of course I was in love with Witchmaster, who is the one that spoke Japanese. I loved her. Connor Sweeney is one of them.
No, yeah, Connor Sweeney is Cassius 3000 in it, who just, it looks like a bronze statue with a bird.
He's kind of like a pirate robot or something.
The just like giant bucket of blood and
Body
bones.
I love that.
The character had a name, but I forgot. Like, I think they posted like on Instagram, they were doing for like a week, like introducing like so and so from the movie, but I forget what their name was.
Yeah, I tried to Google some of it, but there's not a, like, most of the stuff that's just on Google is like the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? But the fact that they just put so much work into making these like incredible looking like special effects monsters, literally for like a 10-minute scene, I just was like over the moon for it.
Can we talk about Hunky Boys?
I do not
We can always talk about Hunky Boys.
This is one of the other things that like I started crying at. Like, one of the things like I really liked in this was kind of like the cinematography of certain things, where like there's this scene where the kids bring the TV and like some magazines to Psycho Goreman, where he's just like having to like, he's, you know, Mimi's forcing him to live in this old shoe factory, and like she brings him some magazines and he's just like says some shit about like the wealth of this planet, blah blah blah, and she's like, what, you don't like hunky boys? And he's like, I do not care for hunky boys. Or do I? As is like, he's like staring at it, like, but there's this like
the camera lingering on his face while he like looks at it.
Extremely long and like slow creeping zoom in on his face as he ponders, like, wait, do I? Like, and then it comes back later in like the best way. That was like, I think the first time like I like laughed really hard. And that comes like pretty early on. I think though, like the first joke that I got like I thought was like really funny is when like Luke thinks they woke up Grandma because he thinks she was buried in the backyard. They're like,
that's what I wrote too.
And they have this thing the kids do, like their, you know, quote unquote secret like language, where they like knock in like a Morse code type thing. Yeah. And he's like, I think we woke up Grandma, and she's like, that's not Grandma. I told you, Grandma's in hell forever.
That was the first quote that I wrote too.
One of the other things that like the first time I really noticed it was in that hunky boy scene. Like the score to this movie,
so good.
Oh yeah, it's great. Like just kind of, you know, 80s synth score, but a little more like modern synth wavy. I think I wrote group...
Power Rangers music. Very good.
So this, yeah, I was gonna say this movie has a very big kind of I feel like very influenced by like Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I didn't like Power Rangers were kind of like started right at that cutoff, as I was like kind of like, I'm too old for this stuff, so I never caught on to Power Rangers, but I've seen enough to kind of like, you know, I have a grasp on what it was about and like, you know, how everything looked. And that was one of the things, like minus having like a team of, you know, Power Ranger type fighters, like all of the characters in this that are like monsters feel like an upgraded version of Power Rangers villains, especially like the Templar Pandora.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I noticed too, whenever he is fighting his like group of, you know, like
like his old
team or whatever, he does some like actual fighting, like kicks, and so like whenever he's fighting Connor Sweeney's character, is it Cassius?
Yeah,
3000 or
Cassius
something?
3000.
He kicks him and he does this like corkscrew in the air kind of thing, and I just remember it like felt very reminiscent of Power Rangers, except that their costumes weren't rubbery and like bouncing around and looking fake and stuff like that. So like it really is like, I hate to say the word elevated Power Rangers, but like this is what I, as a child watching Power Rangers, like this is what I saw. You know what I mean? Like it seemed so detailed and like real, like this movie actually is. Like, I mean, obviously it's not real, but just yeah.
Yeah, like also one of the other things I wanted to talk about was that there's at least what I feel, and it's not like one of them's kind of obvious, like homages to kind of Astron 6 stuff, or not even necessarily Astron 6, but just kind of Astron 6 and other stuff that Kostansky has worked on. One of the things that I'm not sure, and I'm probably reading too much into it, but when you see like the Templar Temple, it is a giant triangle that pretty much just looks like an updated version of the giant triangle at the end of the Void. But the big one specifically is the cop, who is the actor that played BioCop.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
he's being typecast.
I
Wow.
lost my fucking mind at this cop. It's
Well, so
maybe
one of the
my
things,
favorite thing in the whole movie.
it's really funny too because so this is when they're trying to play crazy ball, I guess, and the cops show up because you know Psycho Goreman is a scary alien monster or whatever, and so the two cops get out of the car and they're like, you know, like, hey, they're like trying to arrest him and he's like walking towards them like very scary, and one of the cop goes, remember your training, and then the other one says, there's no time, shoot him. And I was like, oh my gosh. I
like, again, if you've made it this far, spoilers, but he like ends up turning this cop into like this weird kind of brainless BioCop-esque monster.
Except like flesh color.
Yeah, he's like, it's pretty funny, and the acting in it as this fucking zombie cop, I think is what his title is fucking genius. Like,
he's just like flopping around and like shooting his gun off randomly.
It's the stiff arms for me.
oh
Yeah.
my
He
god.
keeps his
Like,
arms totally straight the whole time.
they're just like walking in the woods and he's just kind of like moaning, but he's just got those straight arms and just shooting kind of randomly. And,
Walking into trees and shit.
oh my god, I laughed so hard. It's some of the best acting I've ever seen.
Well, and then the best part of it is that he gives her a piece of paper. Don't know where he got it, but it's shaped like a heart, and in his blood it says, please kill me.
Oh god, it's so good. The whole scene, like, where, like, before they show up, or even after they show up, and he's already, like, he's turned this cop into the zombie thing, and she's like, alright, well, I guess now I have to explain Crazy Ball all over again, and she starts explaining it, and she says something, and she's like, did you catch all that? And the cop, like, just nods. And she's like, Mimi's like, see, he understood. Psycho Goreman's like, this empty husk doesn't understand. He's just telling you what you want to hear.
So good.
Like, also, like, kind of on to what Kit said at, like, at the beginning, like, Psycho Goreman's, like, monotone, like,
And like rough kind of like, I mean, he
like,
sounds like a monster.
when the parents first see him, and, like, number one, Adam Brooks running out, I'm like, my lucky bat. Fucking made me laugh. But then he's just like says all this stuff about how he's gonna kill them, and Mimi's like, no, he won't. And he's like, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will kill you. Just like repeating it before it has like a hard cut to something else.
Oh my gosh. There's this one part where Mimi was like, I don't know if she was like arguing with Luke, but she's standing there with the gem and he's like slowly reaching for it, and she sees him and is like, I don't think so, and he goes, oh, so gross.
Also, a thing with the cop too is when he has the fight with the like his old crew, and the cop just joins in to beat up Psycho Goreman. Oh, it's made me laugh so much.
He also tried to like shoot himself in the head.
Yeah, he does it a couple times, and he's just like, "Oh." Warrior's death. I'm not gonna explain what just a warrior's death. I won't explain it. It's just fucking perfect. That's a one we'll leave for people to see. Let's see.
I only have like a couple more notes. One of mine is just one of my favorite jokes throughout the entire thing is that Psycho Goreman cannot remember Luke's name. He's like Mimi and
the boy.
And he's like, and then later he's like, whatever, when he's like talking to the family, and he's like Greg, Susan, Mimi, and he's just like, come on. It's just like all the small details. It's just so good.
It's wild to me that the actress that plays Mimi is named Nita Josie Hannah. I think that's how it's pronounced. This is like the first thing she has ever done. And she's just like crushing it. And then I think her and I think the actor that played Luke is named Owen Meyer, are like writing and making their own movie right now.
Whoa.
There's some movie, I think it was called 14, like the number 14.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I think they're writing and directing it themselves, and like a bunch of the people from this movie are in it, which is pretty awesome. I have no idea what it's about, but you know, good to see art creating more art. But yeah, she's fucking so good as Mimi in this. Like it was like, I saw this was the first thing she's ever done. I was like, damn, they came across something good. Like I can't even like explain how good she is. Like her character is like often like extremely like annoying, but like on purpose. Like she's just a character that like you kind of want to not like, but you can't help but like her.
Yeah, she is. She's like very headstrong, and she's like, you know, doesn't want to apologize when she's wrong, and but she has like so much confidence too, which I feel like is not common, especially for like a young child in a movie. Like she kind of, you know, and she just like takes control of like the situation and all that stuff, and she's like not scared of anything. But she is a bully too, like in the very beginning more so, where she's like going out of her way to make Luke's life terrible. Like when they first are trying to figure out, like they haven't met Psycho Goreman yet, and they're like walking to school, and she's just like, well, after school we'll go check it out. Alistair, who I guess is Luke's friend, she's got a crush on him, and she's like very vocal about it. She's just like, hey, cute outfit, can we get a spin, cutie, or something? And he's just like very uncomfortable. But then I think
she calls him a hunky boy.
Okay. So then like the bell rings, and she's just like, ah, and she just like throws his shit all over the place and runs away for no reason. And so at that point in the movie, you're kind of like, oh my god, she's so mean. But yeah, you do really like her.
Yeah, she's great. Like really all of, like, it's great how Mimi's very over the top, but everyone else in her family is pretty, like, not monotone is not the right word, but like just kind of like normal, and no, like mine up until like the end aren't really like, you know, Susan gets very mad towards the end, but like you know, for most of the time it's just like there's this like kind of sort of normal family, and even Luke for most of it is very just kind of like reacting to things. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening, while all of these fucking crazy monsters and shit are just about. Like at one point there's like a big fight, and like Mimi and Luke are just sitting back like eating snacks watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Kit, did you have anything you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we covered it all
Okay.
pretty well.
Yeah, like I think there's so much in this movie that's just like it would this episode would be 3 hours long going over.
We'd just be going over the whole script, you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
essentially.
It's incredible. Like I don't know what else is coming out this year specifically, but it's gonna be a hard task to top this for me. Like I went into it expecting, like Kit said earlier, that I was gonna be like, this is great, but like it's so much better than I expected it to be. And I like all of the acting is great. The script is hilarious, and like even at like pretty much at points, especially towards the end, like heartwarming while being extremely funny. And like the cinematography is also like, it feels very like understated, but like pretty great. Kind of like that shit that you don't notice. Like I didn't notice any of it really till like on my first watch. Then I watched it again today, and that's when I started noticing like the slow zoom in stuff on like the hunky boys, and kind of like just small things like that where I was like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, I really am looking forward to watching it again, like not taking notes or anything.
Yeah, I'm definitely like I'll probably pre-order the Blu-ray soon, because this is definitely going in my collection. It's so good.
I also want to point out that there's only 2 reviews for this on IMDb so far, and one is a 10 out of 10 and one is a 9 out of 10. So we're not just like blowing smoke up this movie's ass. Like it's actually really good.
Yeah, I think this movie feels like, we compared it to Power Rangers, which is kind of like apt but not apt. It's just only apt in just kind of like a character design sort of feel. But like
music.
this movie, I don't know. I feel like a lot. Well, I guess there's some stuff during like fight scenes. I noticed a lot of the music.
That's what I meant.
Was like anytime I noticed music, it was that very like subtle kind of synth stuff. But like this movie feels like nothing else I've really seen before. Like it feels like there's stuff in it that feels like other things, but as a whole, I was like this. It felt very original and of its own, which doesn't really happen a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, and especially when you get into like his, like specifically his kind of like I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like, because you've seen other movies by him, you sort of like go into this thinking it's going to be one thing, and it's just like so far beyond that, and it's like hard for it to be it's hard for, I think, that creators to have like their stamp on something but also have it be completely unique. And so like it feels like something completely unique, but then it also feels like something of his. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I feel like this movie kind of feels like a culmination of, at least so far of what I've watched, is a lot of the stuff Kostansky has worked on prior. Like there's moments that feel a lot like Manborg, like anytime Psycho Goreman talks about like his old adventures and shit. And like there's stuff that reminds me of like some of the shorts I've watched. There's stuff that reminds me of The Void. Like there's just a lot in it that I feel like if you're a fan of any of Kostansky or Astron 6's stuff prior, you're gonna love this. If you just like weird monster movies, you're gonna like this. Like I don't know, I can't, like I feel like I'm gonna spend like the entire year being like, when people are just like, what movie do you recommend, I'm gonna be like, Psycho Goreman.
Yeah, this is the new
Santa Jaws.
Santa Jaws. This is the off-season Santa Jaws.
Yeah,
how's that?
It's so good. And like I'm really interested to see like how it gets reacted to.
Yeah.
Like there's gonna be I feel like this movie will do well in rental, but I feel like this movie is going to take off whenever, because I think it's still going to hit Shudder at some point. I'm not totally sure. This is just my speculation, but I feel like, because I remember this was supposed to come to Shudder in January, but I think because they never got a chance to do like a real theatrical run, they're doing like everyone else, where they're now doing like a, it'll probably be like rental on, like Prime and everything is kind of like a regular sort of movie theater ticket price for, however long, and then probably by the time it comes out on physical media, it'll probably be hitting Shudder, and I think this movie's going to like take off like really well once it starts hitting like Shudder and stuff like that.
I hope so. I hope people give it a chance. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that the poster looks really cool. I think I don't know. This is like strange for me because like I've talked about this a lot in the past. This is more of like a sci-fi movie, I would say, and there's like the elements of it that I would consider horror are like, and not like there is like the gore, and not like there isn't, and the fact that they're like kind of hellish sort of monsters, if that makes sense. But I hope that people will give it a chance, even though like it doesn't look like a horror movie to me, just like looking at the poster, if that makes sense. But I think it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you like comedies. I feel like that will be the deciding factor for most people, because like visually it's stunning. The soundtrack is really good, but it's whether you're gonna appreciate the humor, I think.
I don't understand the mindset of people that are like, I can't have any sort of humor in my horror movies or like whatever. Like,
I don't either, but
yeah, I don't know. This will be out January 22nd, which is this Friday if you're listening to this when it drops. Just
buy it.
Yeah, just
buy it.
Just rent it. Like it's worth it. And then
buy it.
Well, I mean, I think right now, I guess you can pre-order the Blu-ray, but I don't know if you can stream that. So I'm just saying.
I don't care. Buy it.
I think just do whatever you have to do. Watch it as it comes out, because support more art like this.
Yes.
There's a place in the world for whatever the fuck, like, I guess Blumhouse and shit is doing, and like, just, I don't know, less remakes, more fucking weird shit like this. Like, I don't know.
I agree.
I would fucking love it if there was just like once a month something extremely fucking weird and niche like this came out that I could watch. Just Steve Kostansky, make a TV show out of this.
I mean,
just
I'd watch
the
it.
adventures of Psycho Goreman in the universe.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, like I said, like, just if you go to the Instagram or Twitter, and I think they have a Facebook, it's just Psycho Goreman. They have a link in their bio that's just sends you to like a link tree type thing. It's just like, pre-order on Vudu, pre-order on Prime, pre-order on iTunes, all that shit. Go rent it. Buy the Blu-ray when it comes out. Pre-order it now. Just support this. It's great. It's
whatever Kickstarter he puts up next, support it.
Yeah. Get that hunk of monster meat like Kit did. Man, I watched The Void again today, like right after watching this. This fucking movie's so good.
I need to rewatch it,
Yeah,
because like I said, the first time I just didn't like it, but I just like don't think I was just a different person, you guys, okay? I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna rewatch it soon, and
it's on Tubi for free, and then you can watch The Editor on Shudder for free. So watch those two after you rent this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna do any of the other stuff we normally do at the end of these. So
break off.
Yeah.
Break you.
I will probably put a link in our notes for this episode of like at least their like little link tree thing. So if you don't feel like looking them up on social media, you could just click on the link under this episode and go directly to the places that you can support this. But you should follow them on all the stuff. Just Psycho Goreman. Fucking, they've been releasing, like I said, they did like a thing for like a week where they were just like, here's a bio on all the fucking creatures in this crew or whatever. That was pretty good. And you got to see like actual kind of like closer up, you know, still frame glimpses of like some of the costumes. And
yeah, I think that they were like sharing some of that in the stories, which I looked at, but like I couldn't tell what was going on. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm glad I didn't see any of that beforehand though, because it was like so cool to see all of the creatures for the first time.
Well, I think when this first got announced, like we talked about it, like Kit maybe brought it up in an episode, or he just said something in like the title, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm in. And then like I watched the first trailer they dropped, and I was like, all right, I'm extremely in now, and that was the only thing.
Yeah.
And like that's usually my go-to is like something I'm like interested in. I'll watch like the first trailer that drops, and then just be like, just wait for the movie, and like it was worth it. Because
I was gonna say, not that we're
again, but just real quick, like we said, like I knew I was going to like it just because I've liked pretty much everything else this crew has done, but like I love this so much.
Yeah, it's a must-watch. It's I'm glad. I feel like very fortunate that it is out. Well, it's not out yet for us. We got to see it early. I feel very fortunate for that, and that it is out. But I'm like sad because I think this will probably be the best thing that I'll watch this year, and it's January still.
I mean, that's I feel like a lot of people felt last year. So it's like yeah. You know, when Birds of Prey came out.
Barf.
All right. Our next episode is on Ghost of Camp Blood, which was normally going to be this week, but it got pushed back when we were able to watch this. Our Patreon.
I mean, honestly, we could just delete it. It's fine. I'm just kidding.
Our Patreon, patreon.com/IHopeYouSufferPodcast. If you want like early access to episodes, bonus episodes, and all that kind of shit. StoreFrontier.com/IHopeYouSuffer for shirts. Leave us ratings and reviews on iTunes. Go watch this movie and tell us who your favorite character is. It's Cassius 3000, we know. Our Instagram is @IHopeYouSufferPodcast. Follow Kit @Hidden Kitstery and Katie @WerewolfFace. Go to some other podcast, AK Movie Club. Watch Psycho Goreman. It's the only thing I demand everybody watch.
Tell
Psycho
us if
Goreman.
you care about hunky boys.
Yeah, everybody should.
I mean, yeah.
Or do I? All right, we will be back next week with Ghost of Camp Blood. I
miss the days when
what?
I was gonna say I miss the days when you would just say I hope you suffer, but why, and then Kit would go, but why, in a really weird voice.
I don't know. I find it funny when we do the end now, and then there's just like 3 minutes of us continuing to talk.
Well, my favorite thing is that like anybody who's like a new listener that doesn't go back far, like when was the last time that the tagline was normal? And at this point, everyone, like if they never knew it was normal, they're just like, why? What are these people even talking about at the end? It makes no sense.
I mean, it's got to be whenever Tony Hawk came out.
Well, but I think like whenever I joined is when we started just doing stupid shit. So.
All right. I hope you frig off, but why?
Yes.
Frig off.